welcome to the Metal Breakdown podcast. In this episode, we are reviewing a new album by Haken, which is Fauna.
Fauna,
In which
that
case,
is it.
yeah, we're going to run through each of the songs, what we thought about them. We'll just give it our first listen. So any of these takes are purely off a first listen base, other than some of the singles which we have heard.
Yeah, we've already heard all the singles before, and before Tom jumps in, we've just got to talk about that album art because it's beautiful.
That is easily one of my favourite album arts.
Well,
all time. It's so cool.
It's so good.
It's so cool.
They've jumped from like that minimalist Rorschach and Virus to one of the most detailed album arts, and I think both ways are good, but hot damn.
Yeah, that genuinely is like probably in my top 10 ever.
Yeah.
Right up there with Colours.
Praise to Haken for getting a good artist for that.
Yeah, no, so it's really cool. I think we followed them on Twitter. Because I thought it was just too cool not to.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, into the actual album itself, we'll jump through song by song, give our ratings of each song, and just sort of our general thoughts, and then give a final sort of overview at the end. So the first song is Taurus, which is one of the singles.
The third single, I believe.
Yes, and I gave it a 9, mainly because it's pretty much everything I like about Haken and prog. It's just solid, through and through. Just a good song.
I gave it a 7.5.
Ooh.
And I was saying this to you while we were listening, but there's just something missing. I can't describe it. But it had like good guitar, the interesting bridge. I could say for literally every song on this album that the vocals are on point. They stand out extra in some songs, but there's no point in which the vocals dip across the album.
No, I don't really feel it. To me personally, the song didn't feel like it missed a beat, to be honest. It was just really solid prog metal in a style that sort of Haken have crafted for themselves over the last couple of years, to the point where they're pretty unique in a scene that can almost sound samey at times.
Yeah, they've certainly got a unique sound, but even within their unique sound, this didn't quite capture me that much. I don't know if it's just like the structure or the hooks or what. I can't put my finger on it, but it's not particularly memorable for me, even though it was one of the singles, and we'll get on to Nightingale in a second. It's not one that I particularly remember. I remember the intro with like that heavy guitar and bass tone, but other than that...
Okay, well, we'll move on to the next single, which is the second track, which is Nightingale.
Which was the first single and came out like mid-2022, and we didn't even think we'd be getting an album.
No, but I give this one also a 9. It gave me sort of very classic prog rock vibes. Vocals sound great. I say almost a little bit like Leprous at times. And honestly, that mid-section instrumental like run is easily one of my favourite moments from the album. It's just blissful.
I give it a 7 out of 10. Again, I know. This start is quite different from another. We might converge more as we go on. But, yeah, it felt like classic Haken. It felt like sort of the jump between Virus and the style of this album. It was sort of like a bridge. It was very instrumental heavy, but same as with Taurus, it wasn't particularly attention grabbing. Nothing really grabbed me, hooked me, and made me go, whoo!
Well, no, talking about hooks, we'll talk about the Alphabet of Me.
Oh, Alphabet of Me.
Which was another single, and I gave this a 10.
I also gave this a 10. Cannot.
Production on this, the best way to put it was just absolutely mind-blowing. I say every single detail is given time to breathe and just shine when there's just so many elements going on, to be able to like actually pull that off smoothly. Like between like the brass and the chorus and the sort of delay on the guitars.
Yeah.
It's just honestly really impressive, and that song is absolutely fantastic.
It's a bit more like poppy compared to like most of the other songs on this album. It's probably maybe the poppiest, but I don't think that takes away from it at all. It's got great synth, good hooks. I was bopping along. It's because it does help that I know this song very well. That I listen to it quite a lot since it's come out.
Yeah, went on the playlist straight away for me.
Same, absolutely.
I usually don't like listening to singles, but this one was hard to avoid.
I've heard people say that this is like Imagine Dragons if they were prog, but I can't say I see it too much.
I think they're going off because, like, obviously the vocals are very clear.
Yeah.
So, like, with other prog bands, with most other prog metal bands, there's some sort of screams going on in some aspects, and maybe it's that where they just
perhaps
don't really tend to utilise that.
It's such a fucking banging song. 10 out of 10s all around. First 10 out of 10 on the podcast.
Yeah, first 10 out of 10. So the next song is Sempiternal Beings.
Sempiternal Beings.
But that's how it's pronounced. So I'll let you talk about this one first, because I know you liked this one.
I gave it a 9 out of 10. And it had a chill start, it was vibey, and I'm going off my notes, so it had a good drop, beautiful build up, and then it hit that crescendo. I've got that it felt a bit long because it's a 8-minute long track. Yeah, 8.5 minute long. So it kind of felt like it dragged a bit, but I got back into it again. Got some good bass taps. That guitar solo hit me by surprise, and just nice clean sweeps. Oof. And it just kept going, and I put that it was definitely a prog song.
So I wasn't far behind you. I gave this one an 8.5. It's actually the lowest rated for me on the album, which isn't a bad thing. An 8.5 is still really good. So I put just a little bit of a 90s feel to this one at times. Some of the 90s prog stuff. So the drums absolutely kill on this track. Congregation style sort of guitars, and honestly that solo with like the creepy choir going on, I thought that was really cool.
So good.
So yeah, no, really solid song.
It really hit it for me.
Not a diss to it at all. Next song, I like this one a lot, which is Beneath the White Rainbow, and this was probably the most erratic song on the album. It was certainly up there.
Yeah, it's certainly up there. It was quite erratic.
I put on my notes that I really needed to like read the lyrics for this one, because like I felt like there was points where it just felt like we were being barraged with like sort of lyrics, and I'm like, damn, I wish I had the mental fortitude to actually listen to what he's saying. But no, really, really cool. So it gave me sort of different bits of the prog scene, straight from like again the 90s stuff. Sort of even like Mike Patton-esque sort of style going on.
Throughout when we were listening, we kept going like, oh, that sounds like Mr. Bungle, or that sounds like BT Bam, who they're currently touring with. So it makes sense that they've almost got like inspiration or know that style well.
But there's a lot of Haken flair to it as well.
Oh yeah,
so it
absolutely.
is purely a them product that they've took and ran with.
At no point in this they were like, I could say that there were elements of, but at no point I'd be like, oh, this is just another X band feeling. Like they've got feelings in it that are sort of similar, but it's certainly got that Haken stamp on it throughout.
Yeah. So like even with the next song, which was Island in the Clouds, this one really gave me Parallax 2 vibes.
Do I not get to give my rating for Beneath the White Rainbow?
Oh, you do? Yeah, let's go to it. Let's go to it.
Took it for me. I give it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
It was a heavy start but I thought that instrumentally it was less interesting with like just simple scales in the guitar. But it was very jumpy and certainly very progressive and very unpredictable.
Yeah, I'm just a big fan of that sort of unpredictable, sort of extreme prog.
I remember
style.
Thinking, I didn't say this one to you, but I remember thinking Viljata with the fact of just like how you just have a note and then space and then 2 notes and then there was no prediction to it. It did.
Yep. I say understanding where to let things breathe and have sort of like silent sort of notes play. So really cool stuff. But now back to Island of the Clouds.
Now we can go to
I did give that one a 9. I thought it was probably one of the more chill sort of songs on the album. I say it's got good Parallax 2 vibes.
I gave it a 7.
Oh.
I mean, that's equal to Nightingale.
I think it's a grower though.
Probably.
I mean, we've only heard it. Obviously, this is a one-time listen review for the album. We have just heard that the once, and I already tell after like getting to the end of that song, like, oh, a few more listens, and this one will be a playlist.
I've got it as chill and vibey again, but weirder. I felt like this was weirder than some of the points of White Rainbow. Obviously, White Rainbow was very all over the place. But Island in the Clouds, I said it was quite samey across the song. But it was instrumentally quite interesting to listen to.
Yeah, honestly, really cool. We'll go on to the next one, which was the last single.
Yes, it was the last single.
Which is Love Bite. I give this one personally a 9.5.
I give this one a solid 9.
I said, but what I've put down writing is put romantic prog? ? So it takes a lot more sort of like pop elements, like we've sort of mentioned in one of the previous tracks, but it does it with enough flair to keep it really interesting. I said it's one of them ones where if I was to put on a Haken song with a girlfriend, I'd probably put on Love Bite.
I put it on a similar vein as Alphabet Me. It has very similar like poppy vibes, so it's got a very nice broad appeal to it.
Yeah.
But I gave it... Did I say I gave it? I gave it a 9,
yes.
If I haven't said already. Good synth, interesting vocals. Piano really added a lot to this song. Like, the piano's good throughout, but it really shined in this song and another song later on. Good chorus, emotional, powerful stuff. And guitar solo follows the same structure of also being powerful and emotive.
Yeah.
Like, I really felt it when that guitar solo hit.
So I'll let you do the next song.
Oh, that means Tom's ranked it high. Elephants Never Forget. I gave it an 8. It had interesting guitars, unpredictable. It was funky and bouncy. Along the song, I was like swaying and bopping my head. I was in that groove for it. And it had a good flow to it. Like I said, I was swaying, but also bopping. It had a
sway and bop.
Sway and bop.
I can see the dance.
Yeah, not traditional, trademarked. The trademarked sway and bop. Beautiful piano in the background. Guitar absolutely shredded on that solo. I was like, good fucking shred. And I could say this across the entire album, but I really noticed it in this song, was how good the mixing is.
Yeah, the mixing's astonishing.
I could hear every instrument so perfect and clearly. Even on our shit TV. I need to give this album a listen on my headphones because that's going to be so good. Especially being able to hear like the bass taps in earlier songs.
So,
is he giving it a 10 or a 9?
I've given it a 10. And I'm not just giving it a 10. I've simply labelled this is the prog song of the year.
Ooh!
This is the peak of the genre. And this one isn't just for the yearly playlist. This is going on the bangers stay list.
This is the all-time best songs.
I say that this was, as somebody who's a massive prog guy, this was, for me, Mr. Bungle meets Dream Theater in, like, Haken's twisted flair. And it was just 11 minutes of just, like, the biggest grin on my face. I cannot in words.
It hit that spot. It really got you going.
Yeah, I actually got the lyrics up while I was listening to it as well. I'm like, damn, that makes no sense to me, but so cool.
Well,
so cool.
Apparently this album's quite conceptual.
Yeah.
So I'll have to read up on that a bit more, since we didn't have the lyrics up on screen, and I don't think Spotify has the lyrics attached at the moment.
They do.
Do they?
They do.
Fuck.
Yeah. So, yeah, really cool. 10 out of 10. Album of the song. Song of the album. That's the words.
Definitely going to have to give this album another listen.
100%. And finally, Eyes of Ebony. I give this a 9. I thought pretty chill experimental vibes. Probably one of the more different songs on the album. But I love the effects and the vocals. I thought it was a pretty solid album closer.
I give it an 8.5. It was so chill, so emotional. The vocals, I think, shined brightest in this song out of any of them. It was nice to hear a bass solo for once. That was, and it had the twangy guitars, but again, I would say this is the most emotional song. Not Love Bite, this one, because this really got it hit me. I started to feel things. Like all
started to feel things.
I know, it's strange.
The world started turning into colours before I just saw black and white.
Pretty much. I started to feel myself like almost tear up. Not quite tear up,
Yeah.
but almost there. But yeah, it was a fantastic closer to a fantastic album.
Well, we'll give our overall scores now. So overall, for the album, I'm giving it a 10.
Fair dues.
I would say this is an achievement of an album for Haken. I think they've personally mastered their own style with this.
Absolutely.
I think they did a really good job because there's a million ideas going on here. And the mixing and mastering and whoever's done that, honestly, just absolute props. They killed that. I said, to be able to pull it off, it is a feat in its own right, because sometimes there's nothing worse than hearing prog that just clashes and is messy. There's so many ideas where you're just like, yeah, no, this doesn't work. And this album is all them things, but it does work.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
So, S-tier album. I'm going to be having it probably on repeat for the next year. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I fucking love this album. And I think the lowest you gave was an 8.
Lowest I gave was an 8.5.
And the lowest I gave was a 7. So overall, that puts the album at a 9.5 or a 10. It's certainly an S-tier album. This is absolutely top-tier shit.
Yeah.
Like, those scores are me ranking a song, not necessarily in place of an album, but I'm trying to isolate it as a song. As an album on a whole, conceptually good. It was solid all the way through. I felt the vibe that they were going for. It really hit. No song really felt out of place. No song I really felt bored. Mixing, we've already gone through it enough, but it's fucking perfect. Vocals shone as ever. It's Haken, obviously. Like, you can't listen to Haken and not enjoy the vocals. And another thing that took me by surprise was how good the piano was.
Yeah, the piano and the brass sections in particular, that I imagine you probably hear a little bit better on headphones, really sort of shone through, and just sort of like added some elements to the background that on sort of a basic listen you wouldn't necessarily paying attention to. But they just add so much sort of dynamic and context to the sections.
Nice to hear things like bass in the background, because you don't...
Bass just not following the guitar all the time.
On first listen, it's usually difficult for me to isolate bass, since I'm more of a generic music listener rather than Tom. Since Tom plays guitar, I just go in and listen, so vocals are probably the first thing I hear. So it's very hard for me to hear bass, but to be able to go in and isolate him felt special on this album.
So, yeah, it's 10 out of 10 for me.
Probably a 10 out of 10 on a couple more listens for me.
So, yeah, we're going to go see Haken later this March. So we're very much looking forward to that.
Near the end of the month. Haken and BT Bam.
Haken and BT Bam, so really can't complain. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Goodbye.